Hey everybody, it's the end of the year and I'm trying something new. I want to start making videos where I talk about games that I've been playing each month, in this case December, specifically games that I'm not really planning on covering in a review or anything like that in the immediate future. Thinking this could be maybe a Patreon video, I throw it up on Patreon and then a few weeks later or something like that, it gets put on the main YouTube channel. You guys will have to let me know what you think. But anyway, the first game I'm talking about today is Soul Reaver. So as you may know, earlier this month, a remaster for Soul Reavers 1 and 2 came out, and I have basically no history with the series. I had just heard people talking about it, online in forums and whatnot, saying that, the Soul Reaver games are absolutely fantastic. Just never got into it myself, but I watched a documentary from NoClip recently, and it was about Crystal Dynamics, so they talked about Soul Reaver, and it piqued my interest. And then, right at the time that I watched it, I think the day after they announced these remasters, I was like, well, holy shit, I guess I'll just wait for those to come out and give them a try. Now, admittedly, I did not get very far into Soul Reaver. I tried out the first game. I didn't even touch the second one, honestly, but I played probably an hour or two of it, and it really shows its age, in my opinion. I think there's some interesting story elements to it. I think if I remember correctly, it's an Amy Hennig game, and obviously she's very famous for her writing. But gosh, the gameplay is just, I hesitate to use the word archaic, but it kind of feels that way. There's a lot of block pushing, and the movement is kind of interesting, but overall not quite to my liking. I didn't even get to the point where you get the, I almost called it a spirit sword. I don't actually know what it's called, but I didn't even get that far, but I was like, I don't think this is for me. There's some interesting stuff in it. The PC version of this is interesting. If I remember correctly, there are basically no graphics settings at all, which obviously I have an ultra wide monitor here, so I was like, okay, that's kind of annoying. But yeah, if you launch the game, it just kind of automatically adjusts to your monitor size, which is nice, I guess, but I feel like there are definitely some edge cases where you don't want it to do that, or it'll do it wrong. And yeah, it's just weird that there are no graphic settings at all. I'm sure there are mods for it and you can tool around in your file system, but it's just weird. Not something I've seen before. So if you were curious about, the PC port, it seems to work really well. So if you're interested in this, I'd say give it a go. But yeah, for me, it just didn't quite do it. Something that's a little more up my alley is Elden Ring. I mean, God knows I've played enough hours of that game. I don't even want to know how many, frankly. It's in the hundreds, I'm sure. But I'm replaying Elden Ring, which I know, groundbreaking. But I'm actually playing the Elden Ring Seamless Co-op mod, I think it's called. My wife and I have been playing all of the Souls games, basically. We did 1, 2, and 3, and Bloodborne, and now we've moved on to Elden Ring. We didn't play Sekiro because I think technically you can play that with mods, but it feels like very much tuned to one player. Anyway, I never messed with Elden Ring co-op stuff. Frankly, I still don't super know how it works. But I read online that, you can't do dungeons together, and you can't ride your horses together, so I guess there's just little zones where you can summon people, and I was like, well, that's kind of whack. So I decided to try the Seamless Co-op mod, and it works pretty well. It wasn't too difficult to install from what I remember. um, about as difficult as any other mod, I would guess, for this game. It makes it fairly simple to summon someone else into your world, and there are some tweaks that you can make. There's like a .ini file where you can adjust health levels, poise levels, for enemies and stuff, and it's more forgiving than the average co-op experience in Elden Ring or the Souls games. The host dying doesn't immediately fail you, so the other person can continue and finish the fight. In some cases, if it's not a boss fight or something, the other person can actually respawn and come back to the fight, and you can also have kind of debuffs activated whenever you die. Until the next time you rest, you'll get kind of a random debuff, sort of Sekiro style. So that's pretty interesting. But overall, it's been like a very smooth experience. There's just a little bit of stuff. Most items that are not directly picked up, they go to both people, with the exception of gestures. Gestures are kind of weird. Mostly it's just been one person or the other getting gestures, which is a little bit annoying, but whatever. It's not official, right? The biggest issue we ran into, was kind of a quest line, Ronnie's quest line, which I'm sure most Elden Ring players know what that is. There's a point where her tower, Rena's Rise, becomes like a safe area, and it gets walled off, right? And you have to do XYZ, talk to the people before you can leave. We got stuck there, and we had to do a whole bunch of crap to get out of there. I think I had to move a save file around manually, and I had to use like a trainer, teleport to a new place, and then overwrite a save file. It was pretty nasty. So there's stuff like that. By the way, I would recommend, if you play this with someone and one of you is playing on a Steam Deck, I would recommend, if there's a person on a desktop computer or even a laptop, have them host. Because then it's their save file that's being messed with. And I just had a hell of a time digging around in the Steam Deck's file system and pulling stuff from there. It just would have been simpler if it were on the desktop. Otherwise, it's been a very nice and smooth experience. I mean, it's less punishing for sure, especially if you tweak some of those .ini settings, because it starts off by default. All the enemies have more health than normal. It's plus 35%, so I just set it to 0, so all the enemies still have, and the bosses have, the same amount of health, but now there's 2 players, so things are easier, and that's okay. I mean, I've played this game the normal way, and it's really goddamn hard sometimes. But yeah, I would recommend it. Elden Ring Seamless Co-op. Just be careful if you are going into a situation similar to the one, in Rena's Rise, when it becomes a safe area and it gets walled off, because things can get tricky. I think specifically it was the fact that I couldn't warp anywhere until something was resolved and there were 2 people involved, and it just got confused. Otherwise, great mod. Up next is a demo for a little game called Cairn. I think I saw a trailer for this at PlayStation Showcase or something. I can't quite remember, but I saw a trailer for this game and I was like, ooh, interesting. I'm a big fan of Death Stranding, as I have probably mentioned before. Really love the gameplay of that game, and I thought, this kind of feels like that, but rock climbing. And there was a game that released earlier this year. It's like a 2-syllable word. I'll put some text here, maybe a picture. But there was this game, that I think I played earlier this year that I kind of had similar feelings about, but it didn't quite scratch the itch, and, the art style wasn't quite for me. Watching the trailer for this game, it seemed super intense. I just remember this character like practically screaming throughout the trailer. But I was still interested, and so I downloaded this demo on Steam, and I'm very impressed. I do have some, semi-misgivings about it. You control the character one limb at a time, right? Left arm, left leg, right leg. And I don't quite understand the sequence of them exactly, because it's not like they're on a rotation where it's like left leg, left arm, right leg. It seems to be kind of dependent on your positioning and what you're climbing and stuff. But it makes it hard to kind of get into like a rhythm or a flow state. If you want to be climbing quickly, it's like, oh, well, I don't know which limb is coming next. And it's a little hard to tell. You have to move and then look for, the right leg is moving. I'm moving the right leg. Okay. And you can change the settings so that you manually select the limb, which is fine, except it always feels weird how the selection works. I feel like it should be like just hard directions, like left arm, left leg, right leg, on the stick. But instead it's like you kind of got to fiddle around. Sometimes it's like, let me pick the left leg. It's not letting me do it. So that's kind of my biggest misgiving, really. There are more mechanics to it that have not really factored in too much due to, the length of this being a demo. So I can't really speak to, I think there's some crafting stuff and you can eat food and drink water and stuff. I only dabbled in that a tiny bit. But the climbing itself, I really enjoyed. Just sort of the tactile feeling of it, having to deliberately place each limb and, pre-plotting your route up a given rock face. They let you kind of free cam zoom out, look around and figure out which path you really want to take. And, you can make your own checkpoints with pythons, I'm guessing is the pronunciation. You can place a python down, and that way, if you fall, you at least have that to fall back on rather than dying, I guess. I don't actually know what happens if you fall from a great height. I'm assuming it's death. But yeah, it's very enjoyable. There's a lot of tension going on, because sometimes you'll get to a tricky spot and it's like, oh god, I don't even know. I guess I'll put my right leg over here, but then my legs are spread out like this. That doesn't seem very good, and I can't quite reach this thing up here. But if I put one leg up higher, I can get a little bit of extra reach. Just a lot of little interesting details like that. I very much enjoyed Cairn, the demo, and I'm very much looking forward to the full release, which I think at this point is just generally 2025. But looking forward to it. Finally, the other thing I've been playing this month is Dishonored. Hot off the press, I know. What was this, a 2012 game, I think? I think I played it probably in 2012 or not long after. Almost all the way, I think. I got pretty close to the end. But it just wasn't clicking with me back then. I got most of the way through it, but, I was younger, I had more time to kill. And I was like, this is fine. This is fine. It's a good way to kill the time, but I didn't love it. But a YouTube channel called I Finished a Video Game just recently made a video about Dishonored. And I thought, why don't I give that a try again? Because, he was really putting it in a good light. So I got it on PC, decided to check it out some more, and I'm very impressed. I've quite been enjoying my time with it. There's just so much freedom and kind of variety in the game. For example, I have been trying to not kill absolutely anyone, going full stealth, basically ghost mode, although I haven't gotten ghost, ghost status on all of the missions I've done. Haven't been 100% about it, but mostly ghost, right? I've only been noticed, I think, 1 or 2 times, which is an interesting challenge, which kind of involves a lot of save scumming, but I'm a save scummer. So it's been really interesting. I don't think I even knew that you could go without killing anyone, including your assassination targets, until I finished a video about Dishonored. And that was a really intriguing idea to me. So that's what I set out to do. And it's really interesting. The game encourages you, in general, it encourages you to kind of explore fairly thoroughly so that you can, get more upgrades, find valuable things to sell. But even more so, if you want to not kill anybody, you have to really kind of dig around and do more things and talk to more people. The first target, you have to explore around his domain. I don't want to call it a castle. It's a large building with multiple floors, and you have to look around, find this note that talks about, the Heretics brand. You have to find the room, take him in there, put the brand on him. The second target, or targets plural, you have to go talk to this other character, Slackjaw, and he's like, you do me a couple of favors, bada boom, bada bing, I'll help you out. And eventually that culminates in if you find the code to the safe of this art dealer, I'll just take care of the twins for you. And, in a non-lethal way. It's just really interesting how they set all this stuff up. And, in the lead up to the second assassination, I heard over the sort of intercom speaker thing for the city, they talked about my first target and how, he's out of the picture, but not dead. Specifically, he's been branded as a heretic, and no one should harbor him or help him in any way. And then, of course, there's all the powers and stuff. I think Blink is just a really good baseline power. Just allows you to zip around, but not too much, because you have to manage your mana. And all the levels are just laid out in really interesting ways to aid in that exploration sense. And they all look really good. I mean, it's not my personal favorite art style. I think I probably, even though it's less stylized, I kind of enjoy Half-Life 2 more, for example. The lead artist, I think it was, for Half-Life 2 also worked on this game. That's why I bring that up. But that's not to say at all that it's not a great art style. I do think it's very good. It's just not quite to my taste, which is fine. I still think it's very special in its design. Truth be told, I'm only about a third of the way through it right now. I play things very slowly, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm probably going to play it through to the end and maybe even play it again with a different playstyle because, like I said, there's a lot of freedom and choice. But something else I've also been playing this month is Stellar Blade. And I'm not going to say anything else about it right now, but hint, hint, there might be another video coming out about that later. But with that said, that's everything I've been playing this month. Like I said, this is probably, I'm thinking, going to be a kind of Patreon first series. At the end of the month, I post it on Patreon, and then a few weeks later or something like that, it would come to the main channel. If this seems interesting to you guys, maybe you can leave a like or a comment, or if it's not interesting to you at all, or the format seems whack, let me know that too. I live to serve you. But I hope you did enjoy it, and guess I'll see you next year.